Welcome everyone to the Convergence Advantage, the official podcast series of CIS 26. Today we're moving beyond the leisure narrative to examine tourism as a critical indicator of sovereign market health. At this year's Caribbean Investment Summit, we will be talking a lot about public value and infrastructure. Is definitely the physical proof of a program's return on investment. Capital creates the opportunity, then tourism products prove the result. Joining us is the strategist behind all the amazing work at Pure Grenada brand, an expert in luxury and destination marketing, and the CEO of the Grenada Tourism Authority, Stacey Liburd. Welcome, Stacey.
Thank you so much, Tisa. How are you?
I am wonderful. So let's start with an introduction. Who is Stacey Liburd? How did you get into public service, and what's the scope of your current mandate at the Grenada Tourism Authority?
Sure. Thank you for that. I am driven, I'm passionate, I am career focused. I really love what I do. My journey into public service started when I was appointed the Director of Tourism in Anguilla, and I have to tell you, the journey has been very rewarding since. In my current role at the Grenada Tourism Authority, I'm responsible for leading the island's strategic marketing initiatives, strengthening, of course, Grenada's global brand presence, and of course, developing and nurturing partnerships that, of course, enhance our visitor arrivals and overall destination value.
Understood. So we've seen a massive surge in global mobility this year alone. From your perspective, are we still seeing a clear line between the tourist and the investor, or has that distinction completely evaporated in 2026?
Yeah, I'm happy to say that line has become increasingly blurred. Today's traveler is far from intentional. It's far more intentional, I'm sorry. They're exploring destinations, not just for leisure, but for lifestyle, for business, for long-term opportunities, if you will. So in many cases, a visitor's first experience as a tourist evolves into something that's more deeper, whether that's investing, relocating, or participating in residency programs. So rather than just separate categories, we're seeing a continuum of engagement, which is really great.
Interestingly enough, my first time at CIS was CIS in Grenada. And
Oh,
I must
wonderful.
say, it went from a work experience to a tourism experience, and I stayed longer, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. It
Well,
was awesome.
thank you for that. Have you been back since that
No,
experience?
but I am planning on coming back with my family, though. This time it's
Please
not just
do.
going to be me. I definitely
Please
will.
do. Please do.
When an investor arrives in Grenada, the work of the Tourism Authority is the first due diligence they experience. How does the quality of Grenada's tourism product act as a market signal for the health of its investment migration program?
The tourism experience is often the first and most tangible interaction an investor has with Grenada, and that speaks volumes. We know that when, our visitors have a really great experience, they tend to come back. It leaves a lasting impression. So, a high quality, authentic tourism product, signals stability, of course, strong infrastructure, and a commitment to excellence. So it builds confidence. And so I think that when an investor sees a destination that is well managed and culturally rich and consistently delivering value, it reinforces trust. So in that broader tourism and investment context, then it includes the investment migration program.
And it doesn't hurt that the people in Grenada are extremely nice.
The best asset that we have. The absolutely best asset.
How does the Pure Grenada brand create a competitive edge for the island in a crowded CBI market where everyone is looking for more than just a passport?
Well, the program, the Pure Grenada brand, one of the things that I love about living here is really rooted in authenticity and sustainability and a deep sense of place because we know today's travelers, they're looking for meaningful experiences and connectedness. So, in a competitive CBI landscape, of course, that becomes a powerful differentiator. So, we're not just offering access. What I think is very important is that we're offering lifestyle grounded in all the things that make Grenada amazing, which is again, nature, culture, community. So investors today are looking for, that again, that connection. And we deliver a compelling narrative as it relates to quality of life, wellness, long-term value that extends far beyond the passport.
Understood. So, tourism infrastructure as a sovereign asset and a market signal is the topic right now. We're going to
Yeah.
be talking a lot about public value at CIS 26. Does
Yeah.
the Grenada Tourism Authority collaborate with developers to ensure tourism projects provide a social return to the local community?
Absolutely. And I think that collaboration is essential, right? So at the GTA, we work closely with developers and key stakeholders to ensure that tourism products deliver tangible benefits to local communities. I don't measure the success of our marketing initiatives on, whether it's load factor, heads in beds, or even our arrivals. I measure it when our local communities benefit. So that includes, of course, encouraging local employment, supporting small business linkages, and promoting, of course, culturally authentic experiences, because that is why today's traveler travel to destinations such as Grenada. The goal is to ensure that tourism growth translates into, the shared economic and social value.
So I think, the islands struggle locally with explaining how the CBI programs benefit the locals, and
Yeah.
having tourism involved in this industry is a plus for you guys.
Yeah, and I think in recognizing that there is a direct correlation between tourism and investment, we're going to be partnering a little bit more closely with, IMA, and we're going to actually get ready to sign off on an MOU that will see us sort of, collaborating on our various trade initiatives, sales missions. We've already started by earlier this year, we went to Dubai with them just to be able to say, okay, this is something that this is, the road that we're traveling. We recognize the importance of, having us working tandem. So I'm really excited about, what's to come, really.
Well, Grenada, along with other Caribbean islands, are moving beyond the CBI hotel era. Can you talk about this shift towards integrated infrastructure like the new intercontinental conference spaces
Yeah.
or eco resorts in Carriacou? Am I saying
Yeah.
that correctly?
You are saying it
Okay,
correctly. Thank you for that.
amazing. And how these serve the nation's long term resilience.
This is such a timely conversation because last night I had a dinner meeting with the folks at Intercontinental, and we're so excited about, that product that we will see on board later this year. So, we're seeing a deliberate shift towards more integrated and, sustainable developments that, align with our national priorities. So, projects like Intercontinental and, of course, eco-focused initiatives in Carriacou, reflect a broader vision. And it's this, right? It's one that prioritizes resilience. Diversification is something that we're constantly talking about. And then, of course, long-term value. So these developments support, business tourism, environmental stewardship, and community inclusion, which again is moving us beyond that single purpose investment.
I listen, Grenada, you are
Yeah.
definitely setting a standard right now. And I'm hoping that all five, the Caribbean five, join in and start pushing the same initiative.
I think we all recognize that value, right, in terms of moving us beyond the single purpose investment. So I think everyone is well on board. I think what we need to see probably more is us pooling together, pooling our resources together, and see where there are strategic alignments and opportunities for us to collaborate and partner.
I agree. In your opinion, does a sustainable, well-regulated tourism sector allow Grenada to command a premium in the investment migration world? Is a clean tourism brand a shield against global regulatory pressure?
Well, absolutely. And I'll tell you why. A sustainable and well-regulated tourism sector, of course, strengthens our global positioning, and it allows us to command a premium. So investors are increasingly drawn to destinations that demonstrate strong governance. That is very important. Environmental responsibility. We see that today's traveler want to visit destinations who recognize, sustainability, who are, environmentally responsible, and of course, long-term viability. So we know that a clean, credible tourism brand not only enhances appeal, but it provides, I think, a layer of protection in an environment of increasing international scrutiny. I know that I'm sure we'll have a lot of conversations at CIS around that international scrutiny.
Yes, we will. Let's let's talk about Grenada's overall story and reputation.
Yeah.
How do assets like the underwater sculpture park, which I visited myself,
Yeah.
serve, serve
Yeah.
as more than just attractions, but rather as narratives of environmental and cultural integrity?
And I think that underwater sculpture park marries both so well. It's one of my favorite stories to tell because it really does go beyond being an attraction, right? It tells really a powerful story of our people and of our resilience and also our commitment to marine conservation, right? I think it's such a creative cultural expression. And I think that, experiences like this resonate deeply with visitors and investors alike. And I think that reinforces the narrative of, again, authenticity, environmental integrity, and just a thoughtful development. So much so that we also built a secondary water sculpture park in Carriacou, and we call it A World Adrift, and that is a celebration of our seafarers and the boat building culture in Carriacou. And the statues are of children, so it also speaks to, and I'm getting chills, it also speaks to a rite
Me
of
too.
passage, passing on our culture, right? Something that is deeply ingrained in who we are as a people, and to be able to preserve that culture, but also tell it in a way where people can enjoy it as an attraction, but they don't lose out on the meaning.
I literally, if you could cry underwater, because you're already
You
wet, if
right?
I could cry underwater, I would have. That
Yeah.
was an emotional,
Amazing.
spiritual, and it wasn't just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's unheard of. It's amazing, and
And if
anyone who
you
goes to Grenada needs to go
Yeah, and
there.
if you've seen them in their original state 15 years ago and compare it to now, where the corals have grown on the statues, oh my God, yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Okay, I'm coming back next week. I'll be there next
Yes,
week.
okay, good, good.
All right. So let's talk about CIS 26. As a key
Yeah,
partner of CIS 26, what is the primary message the Grenada Tourism Authority is bringing to the delegates in St. Lucia in May? What
yeah,
should agents and wealth managers be asking your team during that week?
yeah. I think the core message is that Grenada offers more than access, right? We offer a complete, high quality lifestyle and investment environment that is anchored in authenticity, sustainability, and long term value. We want delegates to understand how tourism underpins that experience, right? So, agents and wealth managers should be asking how Grenada differentiates itself beyond the program, how the destination performs, which I imagine is also a key indicator of what we're doing to market and position the destination, how it is evolving, because as much as we want to stay true to our authenticity and to what makes us unique and what people love, we have to show that we're evolving. And also, how their clients can truly integrate into the Grenadian way of life. Again, we want to go beyond that passport. We want to show you or give you, a depiction of, what life can look like in Grenada if you are open to integrating yourself into the society.
Seeing as, the future is leaning towards a mandatory stay, this
Yeah,
will also help with that discussion on what the client can
absolutely.
expect once there, what can happen. So, agreed, tourism is definitely an integral part of this whole program.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely.
You have a major homecoming initiative for
Yeah.
2026. How
Yes.
can the delegates at CIS 26 help bridge the gap between the Grenadian diaspora and the new wave of economic citizens?
Yeah, so I must commend the Ministry of Homeland Affairs for putting this initiative together. Our chairman of the board is also instrumental in executing this very new initiative, and I think it is commendable because what it does, it's about, again, deepening connection and fostering like a sense of belonging. Delegates can play a key role by encouraging meaningful engagement between economic citizens and the Grenadian diaspora, which is, essentially what we did when we traveled to Dubai earlier this year. So it's whether through the cultural experiences or the community-based investments or even just shared networks. The opportunity is to move beyond transactional relationships and create a more connected, invested global Grenadian community. So I'm really happy that people are excited. The diaspora is looking at coming home, no matter where they're from. It's looking at it like a reunion. But for those who hold a Grenadian passport but have never really been to the destination, or if they've only been once, I think this is great way to serve as an official invitation for them to come to the island, see what other opportunities there are, but also just to connect with what sets us apart.
Agreed. You and I are both examples of what coming home to the Caribbean
Yes,
it looks like. So,
correct, correct.
how closely are you working with Thomas Anthony and Carlene Purcell at the IMA Grenada team during
Yeah.
this summit to ensure that Grenada's story is unified for every potential investor?
Yeah, we're working very closely with, the IMA team to ensure alignment. Really and truly, they're the reasons why we're attending CIS this year because they recommended that we have a presence. So there's a deliberate and coordinated effort to present a cohesive narrative, right? One that integrates tourism investment and national development priorities into a single compelling Grenada story for, prospective investors. So, we recognize that we have huge goals to achieve. We cannot do that alone. So I think in this context, IMA plays a very critical role, and we're happy to have them as partners.
Will the Grenada Tourism Authority be presenting any specific data or project milestones at CIS 26?
Of course, it's an opportunity to show off what we've been working on. So yes, we'll be sharing key performance insights, including, of course, our tourism growth, trends, airlift expansion and market diversification, as well as, updates on strategic projects that, is going to enhance the destination's value proposition. So the intention is to provide delegates with both the data and the context needed to confidently position Grenada to their clients. So absolutely, we're coming guns blazing.
Guns blazing, no problem. So let's look ahead into the future.
Yes.
By 2027, how much of Grenada's investment migration capital do you hope to see diverted into growth areas and specialized sectors such as MICE
Mhm.
meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions? Am I saying that correctly?
You are. And if you say MICE, everyone within the tourism space will understand what you mean for sure. But, by 2027, we anticipate a meaningful shift. I think, especially with the addition of intercontinental, right? So, in terms of migration capital into priority growth areas, MICE is going to be critical, as well as sustainable tourism and supporting infrastructure. While it's difficult to assign a fixed percentage, I think the strategic direction is clear that we're moving beyond traditional real estate, right, into sectors that drive year-round economic activity, which is important, and also, strengthen resilience and create a broader national impact. So I think, for the first time this year, we were very intentional about including a little bit more deliberate push for the meeting and incentive sector. And I think now having intercontinental, it gives us more of an opportunity because in addition to the Radisson space, we also have the intercontinental space. So, people have, options between the two.
As we look at the next generation of high net worth individuals, they are obsessed with ESG. How are you positioning Grenada to be the first choice for the conscientious investor?
So we are intentionally aligning Grenada with the values of the modern ESG focus investor, right? This means prioritizing sustainable development, of course, protecting our natural assets and fostering inclusive growth that benefits local communities. I really cannot say that enough. Whatever we do must benefit our local communities. So through the Pure Grenada ethos, we're presenting a destination where environmental stewardship, cultural authenticity, and responsible investment are not add-ons, right? But they are the
Right.
core to our national value proposition.
With new programs launching in Africa and the Pacific, how does
Mhm.
Grenada stay ahead? Is the answer more luxury or more authenticity?
Definitely not more luxury. I think Grenada's advantage lies in striking the right balance. But
Okay.
I must tell you, if we had to choose, it would have to be authenticity, as I believe that is our strongest differentiator. Luxury can be replicated, authenticity, not so much, right? So by staying true to our identity and delivering high quality experiences, I think we offer something that is far more enduring. So, and that is an emotional and cultural connection that resonates deeply with today's global investors.
And as we said, there are a lot of culture. There is a lot of culture there, and it's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. And I can start naming them, right?
Listen, yes, you can. And then all you have to do is show pictures at CIS 26, and
Yes,
everyone, you say, listen, it's only a 20-minute flight from here to there.
exactly, exactly. It's a quick hop and a skip, and you are here in the Spice Island, met by fragrant spices that then make its way from farm to your table. You can go to the spice market and learn more about those spices. It's going to the underwater sculpture park, but also diving one of the largest wrecks in the Caribbean, which is the Bianca Sea. You can go to Granite Tanks or rainforest and experience the Mona monkey, which is indigenous to Grenada and can only be seen in West Africa. So these are all very much valuable assets, that we want to preserve, but we're also happy to share them with the world.
So I did almost all of those things. And
Yeah.
then when I went through the rainforest, these two young guys almost tried to convince me to jump off of the waterfall, but I said no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
took a picture of them doing it. So,
Yeah. Oh, you must be referencing Annandale Waterfall.
yes, that one.
Yes,
That
yes,
one.
yeah. Oh, I love to watch the guy jump off. I always wonder, and I say to him, I said, you have to be careful. He says, honey, I've been doing this for many, many years. So he is very much familiar with, what I
Where
would,
to jump.
yeah, where to jump. And yeah, he's the expert, and we just love to watch him.
Yeah, watching it.
Watching,
So,
yes. I wouldn't do it. I can't swim. So
oh, okay.
yes,
So,
yes.
if there's one thing you want a global investor to remember about the Grenada Advantage after they leave CIS 26, what would it
Yeah.
be?
Grenada is a place where investment meets meaning, right? So it's going beyond the program. We offer stability, authenticity, and a genuine sense of belonging. So it's not about just acquiring access. It really is about becoming a part of the destination, right? Because it was thoughtfully developed, globally connected, and of course rooted in purpose. And you see that in some of our offerings, right? It really is rooted in purpose. So that is the message. The message is, this is a place where investment meets meaning.
Stacey, I just want to thank you. You've made it
Thank you.
clear tourism isn't just a sector, it's a pillar of national sovereignty.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to share more about our global positioning and what we're doing as it relates to tourism and the investment space. So thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you.
Now, for our delegates, the takeaway is simple. A jurisdiction's tourism health is the ultimate integrity premium for its CBI programs. When the brand is strong, the investment is defensible. Be sure to connect with Stacey and her team at CIS 26 to see the Grenada Advantage in action. Thank you for listening. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.